While the idea of potentially spinning off Intel's Foundry business has been around since Pat was a CEO, these ideas at that time were initially driven by shareholders and other investors who just wanted to use Intel to make a quick buck. However, based on recent reports, these ideas are now being discussed internally more frequently ever since Lib Bhutan took charge. On X, Omer Chima stated, spoke with a senior Intel colleague yesterday. He confirmed that the plan of a Foundry spinoff had been discussed extensively in recent months. United States Foundry services might happen within the next 12 months, depending on 14A partnerships and potential investors' interest in the new company. But he is not the only one. Muhammad also stated, yes, I also have United States Foundry Services rumors with me, but the main reason why it hasn't happened yet is the internal conflict between TAN, what the board wants, and what the government wants. And there are multiple problems with spinning off Intel's Foundry business. For instance, that would leave one company that's actually pursuing the bleeding edge, that being TSMC. As for how this would happen if the Foundry business was spun off and not just shut down, it all comes down to the reason of why the Foundry business is being spun off. Intel has to sink lots of money into its foundries to bring them back up to a competitive state after years of stagnation. And you could say that investors could carry the spun off company forward, except for the fact that these same investors have been screaming and crying like they're too because of how much money it costs to bring these fabs back up to competitiveness. And you know, maybe if these investors didn't advocate for Intel to stagnate for multiple years, then maybe they wouldn't be in this position. Actions have consequences, now pay up. It's not like lithography machines grow on trees. These machines are hundreds of millions of dollars. So even if they spun off the Foundry business, at best, it would be in the same position it is today, with the investors who clearly didn't have any parents to teach them how to accept responsibility. And at worst, it would just become another Global Foundry situation. And what I mean by that is a while ago, Global Foundries announced that they're not going to be pursuing new process nodes, and instead they're going to be focusing on process nodes that they currently have. While in the short term, it means you can keep your current customers and save a ton in terms of R&D costs, making revenue go up. However, as time progresses, your customers will take their business elsewhere that can provide them with a better service, or in this case, better chips, because you made the decision to be uncompetitive. And there is a reason that shareholders are allowed to run American companies into the ground like this. It was something that was originally decided back in 1910 in the Dodge v. Ford case. Dodge v. Ford Motor Company is a case in which the Michigan Supreme Court held that Henry Ford had to operate the Ford Motor Company in the interest of its shareholders rather than in a manner that benefits his employees or customers. And as of 2025 in Delaware, the jurisdiction where over half of all public U.S. companies are currently based, shareholder primacy is still upheld. So these court decisions have decided that shareholder interests are more important than everything else, which includes the company's overall success, their customer base, and even when it comes to matters of national security. And what do shareholders want? As much money as they can get, as quickly as they can get it. In short, just short-term profits. And honestly, I was sincerely holding out hope that Intel would be able to make a comeback and return to competitiveness, which is why I was so optimistic in my last video. But clearly I was wrong, and I should have doubted the plan a lot more than I did.